Welcome to this moment, which is the only moment there actually is, even though your mind might be trying to convince you there was a yesterday and the possibility of a tomorrow, but there isn't. There is only ever going to be the here and the now with memories of yesterday and expectations of tomorrow. It's like your body is either anticipated or remembered. And you're actually dipping in and out of eternity all the time, popping in and out of this continuum so fast, faster than the speed of thought, that you're not aware of it. It's like watching a roll of film go by so fast that you don't see the little lines in between where they're all joined together, the frames. So anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about one of the main things that holds people back on their spiritual journey, which we'll just bracket it as denial. But you'll say to me, well, what do you mean denial? And I'm saying, well, the fact that you don't want God, the fact that you don't want peace, you don't want love. And you'll say, don't be preposterous. That's ridiculous, Dave. Of course I want love and peace and God and all of that stuff, because all of that's the good stuff in life, you know. But and then I'll ask you, I'll say, well, are you happy all the time? Are you always at peace? Is there something that's missing in your life still? And you go, yeah, well, everybody's like that though. And it's like, no, I'm not like that. And I know plenty of other people that are not like that. So, and others again who are becoming not like that, or remembering not like that, however you want to look at it as. So what I'm going to tell you in this video is the things you don't know that you don't know. The things you don't know, and I'm waving my pen, that you don't know. Right? This is like waving a finger. The things you don't know that you don't know. And nobody teaches you this stuff. No one teaches you when you go to school. No clue. They teach, right? So let's just look at the idea of formal education for a second. You got kinder and prep and whatever, and primary school, high school, tertiary education. All of this stuff is just facts, information piled up like a bloody stack of rubbish, really, in your mind, which very little of it you actually need or find useful. I mean, mathematics, English and whatever, reading, writing and arithmetic, the basics. But other than that, unless you've actually got plans of becoming something in the world or achieving and getting out there and giving it the good old college try, you don't need it, right? You don't need it. You don't need all that stuff in your head to tell you who you are, what you're about, and you know what the world offers you. Because fundamentally, as spirit, as the Christ that you are, somewhere in your psychology, you know that the world doesn't offer you anything other than death in all of its handouts, you know, in everything that it offers. It's all death. It's all underscored by death, because the world is the idea of death, the idea of separation, right? And it's underlined by death. Everything here dies. Little tiny ants, elephants, solar systems, planets. Yep, the one that we're on. Yep. So it kind of brings you to a point of pulling your finger out, and it's like, well, I see that everything dies and I'm probably in the queue there somewhere. You don't know how long you've got left, but it doesn't really matter how long you've got left as an idea of time, because we're learning to transcend time by instead of thinking alpha to omega from the beginning to the end, thinking vertically from Homo sapien to Homo illumina, from the bottom to the top, or as above, so below as above. Right? That's how we're learning to think, so that when we cross that threshold, we lay this vessel aside, cross that threshold, our minds are automatically already oriented to the direction as a frequency that the journey of our soul is going to take us, moving on from the lessons here that we've learned, and hopefully not having to come back and repeat anything. But caveat, a lesson repeats until it's learned. But luckily, there's only one lesson you're learning here, and that is what you are. Which always makes me laugh. You see all these gurus and holy people in India, and everybody celebrates them. It's like all they've done is remember who they are. I think if in our Western world, I always find this funny. In our Western world, if you ran down the street naked with your hands in the air, I remember who I am. I remember who I am. You'd probably get locked up. But over there in India, it's like it's seen as a big achievement, and really, it is a big achievement. But it's not special. It's not anything, like it's going to occur to everybody at some point. At this point, we're early in time, okay? So if you're watching this video, you could look at yourself as someone who's late, who's a late timer, early in time. Most people aren't interested in spirituality yet. They're too busy out there riding the stock market, the property development market, building their portfolios and tucking things away for their retirement, just so they can die at the end of it. Who dies with the most toys does not win. Who transcends the continuum in their consciousness wins. Eventually, everybody wins. I love the story of A Course in Miracles, where Helen's starting to have these really vivid dreams, and she had a dream where we're all on this path, and we were like children, all going somewhere on a path, like an excursion. And some of us are at the front, and some of us are way at the back. But it doesn't matter. We're all headed in the same direction. And if you're on the planet right now, here and now, you're living in the resurrection, which is an activity of the universal mind, which we will call awakening. You're living in the resurrection. If you choose to participate with it, you'll become more and more aware of it as it shows up to witness in your own life, in your own experience. And you'll find your own life on earth, whilst you still have time here, to be a lot more enjoyable, a lot more peaceful, which is what we all say that we want, which brings me to the point that I'm going to be making. The things you don't know that you don't know is that when you say you want peace, love and God and mung beans, you actually don't. You want chaos, death and disaster. And I'm going to explain that, right? You're a liar, like Jesus says, I'm a liar. You're a liar and the son of a liar. I love Zoe in our Zoom group. She does it with an English accent. You're a liar, and I can't do an English accent. Your great-grandpappy was a liar. Jesus says in the Bible, every word that comes from the mouth of man is a lie. Therefore, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Keep it simple, right? If you're a recovery person, keep it simple, stupid. You'll know what that means, right? I'm just going to put this out a little. So on the Carl and Deb whiteboard here that we've got, thank you, Carl and Deb. Thank you, God, for Carl and Deb. I'm going to draw a funny little person here. Who fundamentally, I'm trying to do the big blubbery lip. I'll do that lip a bit bigger. And some sort of sad eyebrows there. All right. That is, I should say it's me, but I'm going to call it for this video. I'm going to say it's you. If that doesn't look like you, you need to go and look in the mirror again, because that is absolutely you. Miserable, downtrodden. Blah. Right, so anyone in the world, this is anyone in the world, including me, even though I'm laughing and smiling, it's still my state, right? My state in the world is separate. Separate from people, separate from things, separate from opportunities, separate from whatever, separate from everything, right? In eternity, the as and above, so, pardon me, hiccups, the as above, so below. In eternity, I'm one with all things. There's no separation, right? I'm one with God, or I am that, right? I am. We could just say God is, therefore so am I, or I am. but we don't find ourselves in eternity. We find ourselves, and this is where you have to be true to yourself and not live in some lofty, spiritual, wobbly world where you think, oh, I'm not really here all the time, right? The fact of the matter is you're not really here. This is a dream. It's all an illusion, right? I'll just put that. There it is. The dream, the illusion, the question, the Maya. Oh, actually, here we go. We'll make him a nice t-shirt. It's a dragonfly. The dragonfly is the Hindu symbol for the Maya, which is the illusion. So you find yourself here in the world, right? Beset by all sorts of things that show up in different relationships: work, politics, religion, money, people, friends, lovers, ex-lovers, everything. Everything here is a relationship. You're in a relationship with everything here, just as you are in eternity, except in eternity, the relationship is a singular relationship, not a compartmentalized relationship. And so what we're doing in our spiritual work is walking through our life into and out of each of these separate, seemingly separate relationships as one experience of separation. It's all the same thing, right? There's one problem, one solution. I think I'm separate from God. I'm not. All right, so it's all the one thing. It's all the one experience. But it seems to be separate experiences. It seems to be this relationship, that relationship over there, these people's relationship, my relationships, right? And the ego, which is the voice in your head that just goes all day and night, loves to put things into boxes, loves to compartmentalize things. And you say to yourself, well, peace and love is what I want, right? You say, I want that. I want peace and love. But what you're unaware of is the experience that you find yourself in. You think you were born into the world as a baby, grow up, people teach you stuff, you eat food, grow bigger and get a job and teach your babies things and whatever. Not true. I mean, it's true on the dream level, right? But there's a backstory. There's a backstory, a dark story, which you're unaware of. And it's this, right? The whole thing, the whole experience, can I fit it there? I'll have to put it. The whole experience of the world, and here's Australia where I am, down the bottom, and some other countries up the top there somewhere. The whole experience is an experience of this. You're learning to be in the world, but not of it. And that happens through forgiveness and practicing the spiritual principles that you're going to learn through your own determination to do so, which in general terms is going to be acceptance, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, generosity, compassion in a certain sense, and true empathy, which is to see everyone as equal. Okay, all of those things are going to work together on all of your seemingly fragmented relationships to gradually align them all, like they're all pointing over here, that this one's good, that one's bad, this one's shit, I hate that one, I wish I never was in that relationship. Eventually you're going to heal them all as an idea in your mind of healing or atonement, and they're all going to start to line up through that process of healing to an idea of gratitude. All right. I have to put there, gratitude, right? And it's going to be an attitude. An attitude of gratitude, right? Because you're going to be grateful for everybody playing their part for you, however it is that you chose in your pointy little brain when you decided to have the experience of separation and come to the world, right? You can't just come with an idea of separation in your mind if everybody here is practicing unconditional love. What are you going to find? Not separation. You're going to find an experience of just love. Everywhere you look, people are being loving towards you. So you need other people to play the part. You need other people to abuse you and kill you and murder you and rape you and destroy you and give you diseases and all sorts of things and inject you with vaccines that don't do you any good. All of that, right? I kind of laugh about it tongue in cheek because I've been outside of all of this and looked back and seen that it's not actually real, right? But I'm not going to live in denial. I find myself now back here in the form with the body, undergoing the process of my own healing in all my relationships, which prior to that experience were just like your relationships. Some of them were fucked up, some of them were good, some I wish lasted longer, and some I wish I never got in. It's just the way it is. Welcome to the world. Welcome to being human, you know. So what you don't know that you don't know is that you're having an experience of separation from God. And now all of a sudden you're going, if God is unconditional love and I'm having an experience of being separate from unconditional love, then I'm having an experience of conditional love. Conditional love. Right? Conditional love, where love is relative to the meaning that you give things yourself and then accordingly judge it all by those meanings you give it and decide where it is you fit in the grand scheme of things, in the idea of what you think love should look like to you. And you're always going to be wrong, because love is eternal and love is unconditional. It's not conditional and it's not temporal and it's not temporary. Everything here is temporary. It all dies, remember? So we're in this journey of the soul. We're stuck here on planet Cuckoo for a little while, working out what happened up here, the fall from grace, the war in heaven, the separation, the expulsion from the garden, all of those symbolic sort of stories that we have in our Bible and from history and all that sort of stuff, our philosophers and prophets, working out where we fit in with that, because that story of the prodigal son, the walking away from God or the father, right, or the family, let's say, or the unity, trying to do something for yourself separate from that, and then coming back with your cap in hand, I couldn't do it, you know, like as a humbling of pride and ego and hubris and all that sort of stuff. That's everyone's story. Everyone on the planet, 8 billion of us, are living our lives out, playing out that exact same story. Separation. When you get to, I'm going to rub all this out, but when you get to a certain point in your experience and you start watching videos like this, let's just say you're on your timeline here, this is where you were born and this is where you're going to die. Not that you were ever actually born and not that you can actually ever die, but we're just going to accept the dream for how it presents itself to us, with all of the witnesses to birth and death and everything included, right? You've got to include everything in. Don't try to transcend anything, because you'll just live in this kind of spiritual denial with a spiritualized ego, and you'll be wandering around going, oh, it's just a dream anyway. What does it matter? The fact that you have to tell yourself what does it matter means that it obviously matters, right? Denial. So we find ourselves in this experience, and this is, if you had, I'll just do born, die, and again, born, die, born, die, right? Reincarnation, also not true, but we're not going to poo-poo it just yet, right? It's not true because none of this is true. The whole thing, all temporal association is an illusion. It's all the Maya, that dragonfly, right? You find yourself in this particular lifetime right now, watching the video. Here you are, sitting down, watching me talk to you. I don't know if you can see that. That's you sitting there in a very reverent kind of yogi position. I don't know how to draw anyone else sitting down from a different angle. But anyway, so you're sitting watching this video. And this might be, let's say it's 100 years for good measure. You live to a ripe old age. Up until this point, from here to here, you've had these relationships that go up and down and 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 up and down. Every day, same shit, different day. From now on, you're going to have these same relationships, but you're going to be able to apply different principles to them. You're going to be able to respond to them differently and choose again in how it is that you want to present yourself as either the physical body entity, the physical body identity, or the Christ mind, utilizing the body as an eternal being to bring about a shift in your own consciousness and have that automatically extend out from you to everyone and everything, some of which of that you'll be aware of and some you won't. Most you won't, but from my experience, people tell me stuff. People write to me from the other side of the planet and say, dude, you talked about this thing and then I had a healing while you were talking. I've had that a few times now. It's just like bizarre, but why not? What the heck? So you have these up and down relationships. All of a sudden you take this sort of sabbatical here. You take some time out to try and comprehend the nature of life, the universe and everything. Life, universe, everything. Let's say that takes you 10 years or 5 years or however determined you are within that particular bubble of, it's like a cocoon when you decide to do it, because you kind of drop out of society in many regards, in many of its aspects. You might keep your job, you might keep some relation, but most things you'll find are going to fall away, right? You're not going to have the time for it, and you're not going to have the time to waste on people that are interested in still pushing these buttons to get you going up and down here. They're going to still play that same part that you've given them to play, based on the idea of being separate, all right, which is the key. Oh, you can't see that there, but I drew an S. S for separate, not S for Superman. I'll just bring it down a bit. So, separate, all right? So these relationships are going to continue. And what happens is this, you learn all these concepts and then eventually you can't sit in a bubble forever, in a safety zone forever. You've got to go back out into the world in a sense. I mean, you could be in India, in the Himalayas, in a monastery or whatever for 10 years, or maybe you've left your job, left your family, left everything, and you've gone to just find yourself in the desert or whatever, like you might be reading books. Who knows what your particular re-education, re-disciplining of the mind is going to look like. I certainly don't. Mine was a complete surprise to me, even though when I look back at it, I can see in many regards how it was actually occurring throughout my whole life. I just wasn't aware of it. But becoming aware of it helped me to be able to participate with it in a way where I stopped crashing into things, stopped sabotaging my own best interests, and began to sit back, relax, and actually enjoy the ride. Right? And it is just a ride. If you like Bill Hicks, it's just a ride. I don't have my Bill Hicks t-shirt on today, but anyway. So you have these relationships. You've got to go back out into the world then, let's say. I mean, you could spend the rest of your life in a monastery. What's that good going to do you? You're not going to be affected by anything, and you need to be affected by stuff because you need to make the confrontation with all of this past karma here and allow it to affect you so you can apply the new principles you've learned to it to get a different result, because a lesson repeats until it is learned. So repeat. Fuck, I've had enough of this. I'm going into a bubble. I'm going to learn some other stuff. You come out. The habituation is with all this repeat, but now you've got some tools. You've got some spiritual tools. I'm going to apply my spiritual tools to this, right? So you go there, all of a sudden you realize a pattern, you realize a cycle. Oh, I'm doing this again. And then, all right, now I'm going to apply what I learned in here over here, right, on my timeline. And I'm going to be still. Be still. And I'm going to allow for the action of being still in my mind for something else to occur. And I'll talk about that in other videos, and I've done plenty of videos about being still and allowing for something other than your own conceptual input to occur, because your mind is already connected to the universe, and nature abhors a vacuum, Albert Einstein. So something else will occur and fill that space where normally your own rhetoric and defenses about going up and down would have projected onto the situation to not heal it, but perpetuate it, right? We think that if we defend ourselves that we're going to be safe. We're actually, it's like putting extra bricks and extra mortar onto a castle. It just means that the guys that want to attack you, that you're signaling, hey, there's lots of money in here. You can't get it. Look how many bricks and mortar we put. They're going to go back and they're going to be like, all right, we need bigger weapons. And it'll come back again because the lesson repeats until it is learned. If you don't build a castle, if you don't structure defenses, nobody knows what's going on. You keep the jewel in your heart and just, don't tell anyone your business. You just keep your life sacred, right? But we tend to externalize our lives out there, looking for fulfillment out there and projecting blame, guilt, and everything out there rather than looking at the idea of separation within us to see what it is that's actually going on instead of continuing to react to the up and down of our life relationships out here. So we apply something there and we have a moment, right? We apply our principle and we have a moment where, beep, I'll just leave a gap here. There's a gap, right? All of a sudden, I didn't fill that gap in with all my rhetoric and my defenses, and I just stood there and be still and just left it and let something miraculous occur. Now, that doesn't just occur in that timeline because this is all you, right? And this is energy, right? This up and down is energy. You're taking this separation idea out of the equation of your energetic signature in time and space in that particular relationship, and it has a domino effect. It goes to that life, this one over here, it's a bit crooked, but all of your lifetimes, and they all get shortened a little bit, right? So that gets cut out, right? Or edited. If you think of the Holy Spirit as like the editor, the editor of your story. I'm going to give this part of my story to the editor. You can call the editor the Holy Spirit if you want, or the Spirit of Holiness, or your higher mind, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And this becomes shorter, the time that you have. So instead of living for 100 years, you might live for 60. I'm just sort of ad-libbing a little bit there. But in your mind, in your consciousness, you're like, what was that? You had a shift in consciousness. What happened there? I'd be still, I didn't fill in the gap. Something else happened that flipped the script. And I had a shift in consciousness, which did what it needed to do in that up and down relationship. And that relationship is now healed, and it goes on like that for the next few years in that relationship. In every lifetime, of course, you've got multiple streams of relationship lines, but they're all one. They're all ending in death, right? So in this one that you just be still in, you're snipping out the lesson that that particular relationship was offering you to learn in the journey of your soul, right? And then you go on with the next one, right? And you see the next relationship, and the next relationship you're in, which is unhealed and not comfortable and triggers you and, whatever. Same thing, up and down. Now this person, blah, 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 blah. And you'll say, well, what is this? What is this frequency? What am I feeling here? And each relationship's going to offer you something different that you can look at and be witness to as the idea of healing it in your own mind. One relationship, let's say, and I'm just going to make stuff up, one relationship might represent jealousy. This person's really jealous. They're always jealous, blah, blah, blah. And if I drop them and go with another person, you manifest the same jealous kind of thing. At first it's good, honeymoon period, and then jealousy, jealousy, jealousy. Sick of jealousy, be still, heal it, boom, that lesson is learned. Okay? You're not learning to heal jealousy. Jealousy is just how the lesson shows up. What you're actually healing is the sense of separation in the relationship that you had replaced or projected onto, falsely identifying yourself with as the body through the catalyst of relationship as jealous. All right? So you're actually healing, and if I do this, I was thinking about this one the other day actually. If you look at separation as being a pizza pie, and you've got all these slices, each slice is a different relationship, right? And has different ingredients on it. So, and so forth and so on. But So you healed jealousy, right? You've healed that relationship, right? This is your mind in separation, split up into the different compartments that the ego likes to keep everything in so it can judge it and compare it to other things. That's how it survives, judgment, right? You heal that. Then you go on to down here, out of these streams, let's say, leading on to death, marching on to death, you go on to the next one. This one's got lots of bloody ups and downs in it. What is it? You be still, you ask the higher mind for guidance on it. What am I seeing here? What is this? And the reason that you ask what it is that you're seeing, like using the spiritual mirror, what am I seeing in that person that I'm not including in as myself? I'm projecting onto them. If I wasn't projecting onto them, I would just see the Christ. I would just see my true brother. Okay? I might project onto a woman or a man or a kid or anyone or anything or an animal. You know, you might see a rhinoceros in the distance and project fear onto it. Oh, fuck, a rhinoceros. Look at the big sharp horn. I better run. How do you know the rhinoceros is going to chase you? You're projecting, right? He's probably happy eating his grass or whatever they eat. Bits. You know, so, but anyway, so you go through it again. I'm going to be still, I'm going to ask what I see, and I'm going to accept atonement, keeping your finger on your nose. I'm going to accept responsibility for my projection onto that instead of seeing the Christ, so that I can heal that in my own mind, so that I don't keep getting triggered by it in that relationship. You heal it through forgiveness, God's forgiveness. I'm willing to accept it for myself, so I can extend it to others. And that also, boop, there's another one. And you end up with all these relationships. So let's say you've got all of these dark light relationships, and you've got a couple of healed ones now. You've got a couple that just flow. They're nice and smooth, right? Peaceful. They're not up and down anymore. And you just keep doing it with all your relationships until finally all the toppings on the pizza are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter which slice you eat, which slice you prefer. There's no preferences anymore. There's no specialness. One slice is not better than another. One relationship is not better than another. It's all one relationship. No more separation. You like that? But what you have to be aware of is that in each of these relationships, the background running program is still going to be separation. All right? Do not trust your ego. It's suspicious, vicious, cunning, and baffling. And your mind training, if you're using the Course in Miracles, your mind training is to help you learn not to listen to it. Instead, you're going to be vigilant for the kingdom of heaven, which is a singular relationship with God, as above, so below on earth, where you see everyone as your brother in Christ, as a fellow traveler, and you realize through the compassionate heart that everybody here is in the same boat. We all need to wake up because we don't realize we're experiencing separation. We don't know why our relationships and our lives are like this and why we just die at the end. What's the point? Right? Technically, you never die because you're not actually here dreaming this thing. But like I said, don't transcend it. Treat it how it is, because you need to be able to see, or treat it how it shows up or seems to show up, because you need to be the witness to the idea of healing as the idea of atonement, bringing your mind to this state so that your above state here, which is whole and perfect, and that's eternity, and your below state here, which is the world, right, which is before was the pizza pie, right? In the idea of healing, you're doing this so that all your relationships are peaceful, and the goal of A Course in Miracles is inner peace, right? Peace. That's a singular state in everything, in the world but not of it. And you might say, well, that would be boring. It's like, fine, keep going out there and going up and down like a whore's drawers until you get sick and tired of doing that, right? So, sorry to all the whores out there for that ad lib. But peace as a singular state on earth, okay? Unconditional love as a singular state in eternity. Singular state matches singular state. No separation, boom, shankar, and there's your enlightenment. Okay? Remember, you're a child of God. You're not a body. You're not a physical thing. You're not guilty of anything. There's no better or worse for what you do on earth. There's nothing you should or shouldn't be doing or should be doing better or whatever. Whatever you're doing, your work, your job, even if you're a whore, perfect. Just don't judge yourself. Right? Don't judge yourself. I mean, you may be sick and tired of that, and you know, whatever your job is and whatever your relationships are, and you wish you could go on to something better, heal it first, and then it'll change all by itself. Okay? Heal your mind. Be the change you want to see in the world. Heal your mind about your relationships by realizing that you are taking them from a loveless or a lack of love state or a conditional love state to an unconditional love state through the action of forgiveness of self for the belief you have in your own mind in that background running program that you're separate from somebody else or some other situation, etc. You know, you're not separate from anyone or anything. You're a child of God. You're one with all things, whether you're a Muslim, a Hindu, a Christian, a Jew, a Jain, or bloody whatever you are. It doesn't matter. All of those names that you call yourself, all of those titles, those religious attributions, they're nothing. Do you think God cares what religion you are? God only cares about love. God loves you unconditionally. Unconditionally. Try to understand that. You don't have to be a specific religion. It's unconditional. If you are a religious person, use your religion to reach the end of it. Use your religion to learn the principles that help you to transform your life to see through unconditional eyes and have the experience of unconditional love on earth as it is in heaven. I love you. Peace.